All right, guys, let's want to welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick here on our preview and prediction for Ohio versus Rutgers, a Week 1 contest going down in Piscataway, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Big Ten Network. 14.5-point line that was driven up significantly from the opening 10. 46.5 is the total. Getting things started, we're going to go ahead and look at the Ohio offense against this Rutgers defense. I was glad to hear that Parker Navarro is coming back. This guy was great for them at quarterback, highly productive, executed this rushing attack to his T. His tango partner, Anthony Tyus, is gone, but Cyan Bangira returns to the program after doing nothing at Minnesota last year and 3 seasons before that here as a 2-year starter for the Bobcats at nearly 2,000 career yards. So I love the return of him. He's going to slot right in at RB1. They're also going to return 4 of their top 5 pass catchers. They do lose their top guy in Coleman Owen, though. But they're going to be facing a Rutgers defense that struggled with health last year. Now they hit the portal hard. Love what they did top to bottom in the portal, especially at D-line. They went and got 2 great defensive ends, Eric O'Neill from James Madison, and then Bradley Weaver from Ohio. He'll be going up against his old team after being a standout in the MAC for a couple of seasons. They're also going to return 2 veterans at linebacker, Dario Dejabam and Moses Walker. So the potential is really sky high for what they brought in. Shiano in this front 6. They have some guys that can really get stuff done. I think their pass rush might be significantly better. And now the run defense was a weak point for them, though. They weren't awful in Big Ten play. They gave up only over 200 yards 3 times all season, but they did have 2 games of 300-plus yards allowed where they got obliterated. I don't think Ohio certainly possesses that type of capability going up against a Power 4 opponent, but this is a tough rushing attack. They play with a lot of discipline, a lot of physicality. I think Ohio, they're going to look to attack through the air, though, with a smart, cohesive, quick passing attack. I think play action is going to be major for them as well. Looking to confuse a new secondary that also added some impressive talents that Nick will go over here in a second. Likely won't win that man coverage battle, though, so they're going to need to be stout in attacking that zone coverage. It's going to all start with Navarro and Bangira and Nick running the football. I'm excited to see how this matchup plays out.
Yeah, if you're looking for a reason why you could pick Ohio to cover what is now a lofty spread at 14.5, a lot of it relies on the rushing attack, and it starts with Parker Navarro under center. This kid was absolutely phenomenal on the ground last year. He lays his body out, he takes hits, he is not afraid to do so, even with that 6', 205 frame that may be a little undersized for the type of rushing attack he runs. Over 1,000 yards last year, 6.5 yards per attempt, 18 touchdowns on the ground, a really impressive number. He had 2,400 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 60% comp rate, and then he had 11 interceptions to go along with that. Navarro's an incredible asset under center with his legs. He is so dominant on the ground. This was a crazy Bobcats rushing attack last year. They really were able to go out there and be effective on the ground. 5.2 yards per attempt, 35 rushing touchdowns total, 6.18 yards per play for this offense last year. And now they're facing a rushing attack in Rutgers that had some issues at times last year. I know they revamped it. They added some key pieces. 5.21 yards per attempt given up on the ground for Rutgers defense, 6.15 yards per play, and then 25.4 points per game total. But I do think they've added some really good assets in the secondary that will also help out in this run defense and beef up what is a good defensive line that is completely revamped. It starts with Cam Miller from Penn State. I think he was a really solid add. Didn't play a whole lot for the Nittany Lions, but had 5 pass breakups and 2 QB hurries. I think he's a really good asset at corner. He should start this season. Jacoby Henderson comes in from Marshall. He was phenomenal for them. 2 picks and 10 pass breakups last year. Expect him to be a big asset. And then Jet Elod comes over from UNLV, where he was solid for that team as well. 6 pass breakups a pick. He had 84 total tackles. So he was really solid previously with Ohio as well. So a really good asset that they plug into that secondary. I like what they did on the defensive line. This Rutgers defensive line with Eric O'Neill leading the way on that left side is a really good asset. 18.5 tackles for loss. 13 sacks for the Tottenville High School Staten Island product, who was really good at JMU. I think he's a really talented asset. Had 3 pass breakups as well. So I expect this Rutgers defense to play pretty solid football, even if it is a mostly revamped unit. I like them to try and stuff the run there, try to find a way to prevent this. I think if you want success, for Ohio, try to run the ball, try to find a way to have success with your new back and your star quarterback returning under center. Maybe hit a over-the-top deep ball once or twice, trying to shake things up a little bit. I think the secondary will be really good for this Rutgers team, and I'm expecting this whole defense to step up this year. I think they'll really play solid football, hit hard, and they'll be clean against the run. They got to improve a little bit against the run if they want to compete in the Big Ten. I think this is a good test to see how they can stand early on.
Still got good players like Chase Hendrick and Rodney Harris. Again, I don't think they're going to exactly win that man coverage battle, but against his own, they certainly have opportunities. And I think it's possible Rutgers comes in here and just stifles them, right? I think that Shiano, especially with some of the new talents they added, it's always a possibility but I think last year they just had too many weaknesses, and even though they are in much better standing when it comes to health, I think it's going to be a bit of an even contest in terms of success and struggles as well. Moving to the other side of things, the Rutgers offense, this is a group I absolutely love for this year, and it sucks that they play such a tough schedule. I mean, it's in the Big Ten, of course, and it's going to happen, but I really think that this team could win 8 games, maybe with a little bit easier of a schedule because of the offense that gets back 8 starters. The passing game, I really love the upside of the wide receiver trio that Ethan Kaliakmanis has to work with. I mean, these guys were pretty impressive last year, and they certainly did a lot better than we thought they would throwing the football. You have guys like Ian Strong, KJ Duff, who are productive. You go to the portal and add DT Sheffield from North Texas, who's been productive in his career. I mean, this is a phenomenal trio. These guys are going to command pretty much all the targets. Kaliakmanis, coming off his best career season, I think is going to stay hot. Almost 2,700 yards passing for him last year. Now, obviously, they're not going to have the same guy in the backfield. Kyle Monangai is gone. The run game was phenomenal last year. I still think they're going to have balance, though. I think Antoine Raymond's going to fill that void with ease. He went off in the bowl game. They also picked up C.J. Campbell from FAU to spell him throughout the year, so they have a nice 1-2 punch still in the backfield. The Ohio defense, they're only going to return 2 starters. The linebackers are well coached, though. They've been in the program for years, despite cracking the starting lineup for the first time. They added 3 guys to the defensive line in the portal that didn't do much at previous schools. The secondary does get back those 2 starters, DJ Walker and Tank Pearson, who's a very strong cornerback. I think they can struggle a bit in this game, but Rutgers is not known to be a big play offense. In Ohio, they have the toughness, I'd say, to do well in the trenches, and if they can stifle the run game, which I think is possible, Nick, they can certainly have some potential success at defending the pass. I just think Rutgers is really going to turn things up a notch on this side of the ball. Some of the guys they have on the offensive line as well, like Gus Zelenkus, Tyler Needham at left tackle, Taj White at right tackle. This is the year for Rutgers to really impress, and it's going to start here week 1.
Dare I say it, Rutgers got themselves a quarterback. Kaliakmanis, I think, is a really good quarterback under center. I thought he was a really good fit last year. I think he'll only get better this year. 6'3", 212, I think he's really solid under center. 2,600 yards passing last year, 18 touchdowns, had 3 rushing touchdowns as well, 7 picks, and 53% comp rate. Maybe a little bit low on the comp rate, maybe a couple more interceptions than you're hoping for, but I think he'll step up, be a little more accurate this year, and cut down on those interceptions. I like what they have at wide receiver. Duff, Strong, and Sheffield is a really good punch. I think DT Sheffield will be dominant in the slot, over 800 yards receiving last year, 11 touchdowns at North Texas. Expect him to have a really big season and probably a big week 1. The O-line's a pretty strong unit as well, like the piece they have back. C.J. Campbell, I think, was a great add from FAU, over 800 yards rushing and 11 scores from him. Expect him to be a big asset in this offense, while they also return Anton Raymond, who was really good in that bowl game, like you said. Last year, Rutgers 4.41 yards per attempt on the ground, about 29 points per game, and 5.46 yards per play. So they were really solid. They were efficient through the air, which is rare for a Rutgers offense. I'm expecting them to be efficient through the air again this year, and I think having Sheffield in the slot is another massive weapon for Kaliakmanis to work with. I think this team will probably be pretty solid here in week 1 and be able to attack a defense that's very inexperienced coming over from the MAC. Yes, they were solid last year, right? 18.1 points per game is good. 2.95 yards per attempt on the ground. This run defense last year for Ohio was absolutely dominant. Teams just could not run the ball on them. 4.91 yards per play. The secondary was a little weak. They got beat a couple of times here and there. But overall, this was still a good MAC defense, but it's revamping, right? They're bringing back a couple different pieces here and there. The secondary should still be very strong, which is a very intriguing matchup. How does Rutgers' pass attack look against this pass defense for Ohio? That was pretty good, but the D-line was weak, so I think Rutgers will be able to get some good situations running the ball on first down and attack this inexperienced D-line that's all transfers and a linebacking core that doesn't have a whole lot of reps under their belt. That will open up the playbook a little bit and give you some options to kind of run a different offense. Look for Rutgers to attack on first down on the ground, get some opportunities to put themselves in 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4 situations where they can really open up the playbook and get Kaliakmanis involved. I'm expecting a pretty strong day from the Rutgers offense.
Now we move to the final analysis and the prediction. I think most will look at these two brands and expect a lower scoring physical game, but I fully anticipate a higher scoring affair. I think both offenses have skill. Both defenses are going to be breaking in new faces. And while Rutgers wasn't all that good last year on that side of the ball anyways, I certainly think that their own offense has too much not to put some points on the board. And last year, despite being top tier on defense, Ohio did allow 38 and 41 respectively to Syracuse and Kentucky. I expect a similar approach in this game, but with Ohio being able to try and keep pace a little bit stronger this year, Ohio is also going to return most of its staff despite its head coach departing, so I'm not worried about any schematic changes or anything. This game is almost carbon copy of last year, Nick, when Ohio played Syracuse in the season opener, went on the road and played an Orange team that we thought would have a better offense than most anticipated, ended up being elite on that side of the ball. We also thought that the defense for Rutgers isn't going to be all that great in this game, and they ended up rushing for 262 yards on the Qs in week one last year. So carbon copy game is the feeling for me. I think Ohio's going to be able to, or I think Rutgers, that is, going to be able to impress. The Bobcats will be able to keep a little bit of pace before pulling away. I'm going to stay away from the spread. I might sprinkle a little bit on Ohio. I'm targeting the over 46.5 before the spread, though, Nick, and I might even combine them two together. I'm all over that one. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this one. I think Rutgers is going to put on a clinic, and it's going to be a lot of highlights to make Sports Center come the end of the night.
This will be a very intriguing game on Thursday night on Big Ten Network. Last year, you alluded to that Syracuse-Ohio game where the Bobcats traveled on the road to upstate New York. They lost 38-22, but they were competitive in that game. I think this game will be similar where Rutgers will pull away late and they'll end up covering that spread. I have the score near similar at 38-20 and a cover for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I love what Rutgers can do this year. I think the offense is phenomenal. I think Kalkamakis is an incredible gamer, under center, underrated quarterback. I love what his receiving core can do. I think Campbell and Raymond will be a really solid 1-2 punch, even if they have tough shoes to fill. The defense will come around. Maybe they'll struggle early in this game. But I like the pieces in the secondary. I like the piece they add in the D line. Good linebacking veterans, even if they were banged up last year, returning for this defensive group. So I think this is really solid overall. I like what they have here. I think they can really step up and be strong. I do think Ohio's a great team. I think they'll be really competitive in the MAC. I think Parker Navarro is a phenomenal quarterback, certainly on the ground. I think the defense will eventually round into form as well. But I think this will be a higher scoring game. I like the over here a lot as well. I think it makes a ton of sense to make that kind of play. And I think Rutgers will get the job done. They'll end up covering the spread. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. I don't love it at, whatever it's at now, 14.5. I don't love it there. I think it was a lot better. I would have liked it a lot more at like 10.5 when it opened. Not sure why it's moved so much. It jumped up a little bit here. But overall, I still think Rutgers is still in a good position to win this game and cover the spread and put up a pretty good showing in Piscataway on week 1 Thursday night.
Yeah, this is a really exciting game. Good way to get the season started. I think this will be an entertaining contest. It's going to be a Freddy's episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.